Hey everyone, Seth here. Quick reminder, if you want to contact us with a question or comment or whatever, there are a couple ways you can do so. Either you can go to our email at more.layers.podcast@gmail.com, or you can go to YouTube, use the comment section below the videos, or a direct YouTube message is another way you can do that. And just feel free to give us any questions, comments, podcast topic suggestions, whatever, shout out, whatever, and we'll try to get back. Hey everyone, it is mid-April and welcome again to More Layers. I'm Seth Mariana.
And I'm Jordan Smith, and just like to take a moment to quickly apologize. Normally, we have our episode out earlier in the week, but personal schedules, things got in the way, so we figured it would just be a little bit easier if we delayed it to recording it now and today, uh, just so we wouldn't have to switch up too much of our personal lives.
Yeah, it's probably, things are naturally going to conflict, I think, frequently, so it's probably going to be floating like 6, 7, maybe even more days. So it's
Oh,
probably
sure.
not gonna be the same a lot of the time. So
We'll cross the bridges as we get to them.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's getting closer and closer to the Artists Unlimited reunion, which is also when the announcement of the next production will be. And I'm certainly getting more excited as it's approaching. I will say I do have an idea of what it could be, but I certainly don't want to say anything. I'll just leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Part of me has a couple ideas based on some of the other shows that people in the local area are doing or shows that they've wanted to do but haven't until now. But yeah, I won't say too much because heck,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the reunion is 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah. May the 4th, Star Wars Day.
Exactly.
And you actually have a costume just for that. You've been telling us about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to show it because I got this idea from a mutual friend of ours who has a couple of lightsabers that he can like change the color of or the patterns or what have you, and they're really nice. So I figured I won't get something as fancy because I don't need anything that fancy right now. But I've got a couple lightsabers with me. I got a long black robe, and I think there was something else. No, it was the robe and the lightsabers, but the robe doesn't cover everything, so I'll just wear black so that it all looks like one big piece of cloth. But it'll be great.
Yeah, and some of us actually did catch up like the other weekend, and we actually saw Shrek 2 reissued. No, it was the 20th anniversary theatrical re-release. Yeah, and it definitely like, kind of cultivated my appreciation of the film. I haven't seen it in a long time until then, but yeah, it is. Yeah, it's one of the most solid sequels I've ever seen. I have to say.
I would definitely have to agree. A lot of times, sequels can be hard to do, especially when you're trying to improve on the last one or take it a step up. Because a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, it's not as good as the original, or they want something that they're familiar with now and it might be different and they don't like it. But most people I talk to, especially about the first two Shrek movies, is that Shrek 2 is a surprisingly good sequel. And I was talking to some of our friends when we went to go see it, and I was constantly saying, if I was going to see any Shrek film in theaters, it would be this one.
Yeah, yeah. There is some, yeah, plenty of high energy fun to be had with it, and you know, getting on the subject of sequel films. I feel like you really don't want to make one in the right mind unless you really have a story worth telling. I don't think. I feel like that's pretty much like Brad Bird said, and when he was talking about putting out a second Incredibles movie, I don't want to do it. He pretty much said, unless I have a story worth putting on the big screen. And, you know, you don't just want to, sure, it may be a cash cow, but it should be more than that.
Oh, absolutely. Some sequels out there, they're already planned while they're writing the first movie. Like some people, they'll have a specific amount of movies in mind with one overarching story. And then once that's done, they don't plan on making any more. Whereas some companies, and this does include Disney, by the way, they will make one movie with just the intent of making one movie. But if them or somebody else sees how much money it's made, it's like, oh, we can capitalize off this popularity. Let's make another one. And I'm fully convinced that's what they're doing with Frozen, because it didn't seem to me like they planned on making more than one film, and now they're making a third,
Yeah, kind of begs
along
the
with a fifth
question.
Toy Story.
Yeah, kind of begs the question: where can they go from here?
I wasn't even sure where they were going to go with the second one. And honestly, the second one could have been better. It could have been worse. I honestly think the songs might have been a little bit better in the second one, but like the story didn't grab me that much. But that's just me.
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I will at some point. I don't know.
I mean, if anything, maybe listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need the context to appreciate the songs. I mean, it may help, but yeah. I don't know if I'll see the third one.
I don't know. Yeah. Let's take, well, kind of the big topic of this show today is the future of social media. It's probably one of the touchiest subjects out there in a sense because, it's something that's extremely prevalent in our culture. Well, most everybody is on it. Most every business is utilizing it. And it's kind of, some would say it started out with a more positive reputation. It was new, exciting. People were really getting into it, really invested in it. And then, and then when people saw some of its flaws and failures, people grew more resentful of it or critical of it. And, and I was talking with somebody the other day that asked me, what direction do you see it going in now? And I forget exactly what I said. I more or less essentially said, you know, it's great as a business promotional tool, but it is, you know, probably not uh, not as popular anymore, and probably won't be as a personal tool. So I don't know.
Well, internet and social media, um, they're like most other things, at least to me, where it has its good sides, it has its bad sides. It can be
Yeah,
used for really good things. Like some people, they might reach around and ask for like recommendations for things, or if there's an emergency, they can reach more people that way. Um, but like with anything else, it has its cons, and unfortunately, it can be used very irresponsibly.
yeah. Some will probably argue that the cons far outweigh the pros at this point, but and some people are very very skeptical of it now. It seems, but they're it seems like I don't know. What websites are trying to improve upon it, and we'll maybe get into more of that later. But there's a software company called Sprout Social, which is kind of like a consulting service, I guess you could say, like an advisory firm for businesses, is to kind of give them some pointers or guidance on how to utilize social media effectively.
Sure.
And and again, they did an article, and I put this in our notes. I put the link in there, and I'll put the link in the video description, episode description. So, they basically did a sort of article, kind of looking at things they expect to change in the near future with social media, things to shift or be cultivated or whatever. One of them was no, they particularly applied this to like businesses' use of it. So, um, one pointer that they made, a sort of prediction, was authenticity.
Mm.
Basically, not sure or how to explain it. It's like basically the cutting back on the commercialism in their content, and basically just being real, being more down to earth, I guess you could say. And and the article could probably explain it better than I could, but basically the idea of of focus less on pushing a brand and a little bit more on just connecting with people like people.
Yeah, that's a thing because I feel like scams are connected to this sort of thing because people will pose as various companies trying to sell you something or trying to get you to give them something. F and it's getting harder and harder to tell sometimes when those people are real or even with the rise of AI, it's like, am I talking to an actual person or is this automatically generated? What's going on?
Right?
How do I know what's real and what isn't anymore?
Well, then there's clickbait, basically like headlines that sound pretty convincing, but as I'm seeing more and more of those, I'm getting further and further convinced that something is no, no, they wouldn't take that picture, or well, they wouldn't say that, or that this can't be legitimate.
Yeah, one popular thing I will see in clickbait is that they'll take something that somebody said and either take it out of context or twist it in a way with the intent to make it sound like they did or said something really bad or just to get a rise out of people when it's like they may have said that, but you need the context to fully understand why. And people know that if they don't give that context, you're like, what are they talking about? Why would they say something like this? I got to check this out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm convinced it's a trap. It's.
It
I think.
absolutely is.
I think I've at least clicked on one of those and found myself being led to something soliciting. So I think learn this from my experience. People don't trust them.
Yeah. And I remember this used to happen a lot more, but on some social media outlets, you might get what you think is a message from a friend where it's just like, hey, uh, I can't believe I saw you in this video, and then it'll give you this really obscure looking link. And then if you open it, then you start sending wacky messages to everybody by accident.
Oh, oh, kind of like the generic. Look what I found. Yeah, it's
Yep.
the more I see it, the more I see. Ah, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, for sure. And usually at that point, you just got to alter your password or something and you should be fine. But it used to happen a lot more, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, for my own personal reasons, I recently quit social media, so I think I at least have dodged quite a few bullets. So
Yeah, probably.
yeah, 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 yeah. And another thing the article predicted was what, in their verbiage, they described as a renewed focus on customer service. I guess it's similar to the prediction I previously mentioned, yeah, but kind of talks a little bit about the use of like AI bots in customer inquiry services and kind of contrasting that with the use of more human versions of such services. And I guess for whatever reason, they kind of emphasize the value here of actually having a human uh, do more of that than AI.
Yeah, I would very much appreciate if they didn't rely so much on AI, especially when I need to get something done. Like if I'm working on insurance or something, almost every time I call in, I almost never get an actual person. It's usually some automatically generated or previously recorded message. And they'll be like, press one for this, press two for this. And then you do that. And you think, oh, now I'll get somebody. And then no, they'll give you another message where they want you to press another number and they make you jump through all these hoops. And then by the time you actually get to the person, it's like you're frustrated and it's like they're almost trying to push you away.
Yeah. So I just kind of wonder, some of these places must be pretty understaffed. I mean, like, you ever have to like call your doctor's office or call your bank to speak with somebody, and you end up waiting on hold for like 5, 10, 20 minutes or something with generic elevator music going.
Sometimes even more. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Man. Which is why I kind of dread having to make those calls, because I figure that's what's gonna happen.
And then you're just sitting there in like a not necessarily in a state of anxiety, but there are times where like you want to get up and do something else while you're waiting, but the whole time I personally would be just sitting there thinking, I just know that the moment I get up and try to move around, that's when somebody's going to answer the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess I get antsy because, usually I have to kind of make these calls while I'm at work.
Mm.
If- so, I'm going to like the restroom or something to make the call, and I'm waiting there. I don't know how long. I don't, but eventually they do pick up, I guess, most of the time, but you just never know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It usually gets frustrating. So the more direct interaction we have with an actual person, the better moods we'll be in.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing they talked about in this article was content diversity. Like, so you know how social media websites, they have multiple features, multiple like styles of communicating, from like, straight up posts to story reels to, of course, direct messaging, and or even some kind of other like creative um, sort of content, and they, I guess, from what I if I understand what they're saying here, they want to make this prediction that it's going to be more front and center, uh, how different these features are. It's
Mhm.
like some aren't going to fade in as much that they're all going to be more kind of lined up together. Yeah.
It would be great if they didn't rely just on videos. Like I get that, it's mainstream now, so that does make a lot of sense. And sometimes they'll make these short ads that pop up while you're scrolling through YouTube or TikTok or something. But at the same time, it's like that's not what you're there for. It's like on YouTube videos, I kind of get it because the people making the videos, they got to make their money somehow. But simultaneously, a lot of the bigger name ones, especially, they have sponsors. So why would they also need the ads at the beginning of the video? And some will even spread them out constantly if the video is longer. Um, but it's like sometimes it can get frustrating. It's like I want to see this funny video, but I have to watch a 45, 60-second video that I can't skip. And this will also happen a lot when I'm like on my phone, I'm using an app or something, and before I can even get to what the app is supposed to do, sometimes they'll throw an ad in there, or in the middle of it, it'll be like, oh, here's a 30, 60-second non-skippable ad. And sometimes you'll get the same one over and over. It's like not only would I appreciate a variety in content types, but just a variety in the content itself.
And another thing that they predicted is the use of more specific, more layman's terms data analysis. This is probably something more relevant than to the people at the businesses, more than individual users. And I could probably speak in affirmation of this from experience. I worked for a marketing company for a while for my first job, and I was not one of the most qualified. I feel like I half the time didn't even know what I was doing, and they try to explain it, but still. But there are all these sort of terms apparently for categories of data, algorithms, whatever, and you know, and this article talks a little bit more about the more visually graphing stuff and breaking things down into more specific subjects, and yeah, and that might help, I guess, the people at the companies engage people a little bit more, and maybe that might move things forward.
I would definitely say so. It kind of makes me think of, like, circling back to YouTube for a second. Each creator will have this page they can look at that shows their data analysis, like who's watching what, how long are they watching this video for, are they watching it all the way to the end, which video that I've posted in the last month is the most popular, that sort of thing. Which, if used correctly, people can then see, like, okay, this is what is grabbing their attention, this is what isn't. So maybe the stuff that's not, I will do less of, or just get rid of it altogether, focus a little bit more on the things that do grab their attention, maybe try a couple new things in the process. So if they take into account what works and what doesn't, it can be a really helpful tool.
Yeah. Yeah. If if something's not selling, kind of the basic business rule, it's not worth investing in. So
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were saying earlier with various movies. If it's not making money, they're probably not going to make another one.
yeah, yeah, and we were kind of noticing, like, at the theater, kind of on a side note. This may be a little bit of a jump, but they're reissuing all the Spider-Man films,
Hmm.
which is probably the most effective capitalization tool the theaters can do, is just keep reissuing old stuff. And maybe that's a discussion for next time. I don't know. Maybe we'll decide that later. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah. One thing I will say very quick about that particular instance, I won't get too deep into it, but I think it's kind of smart that not only are they re-releasing some Spider-Man movies, but they're releasing all of them. And the reason why I think that is smart is because, everybody talks about which actor is the best live action Spider-Man, or which Spider-Man movies are the best ones. So by re-releasing all of them, people have the option to go see the ones that they want to see. So it's like, if they like the Andrew Garfield movies, they can go see those. If they like the Tobey Maguire ones, they can go see those. Tom Holland, same thing. Or if they want to watch all of them, they have the option.
Yeah. Well, I've seen all of them except the second Garfield one. So yeah. So I would probably be pretty much for seeing just about any of them on the big screen at this point,
Sure.
hypothetically.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And also on a little bit of a side note, this isn't part of the article. I saw something on local news the other day about Instagram cracking down on sextortion. That's the term they used. Yeah, I don't know. This was on the local news. I don't know if you saw it. Basically, I forget exactly what the features or the new changes are. Kind of like basically maybe something like you sure you want to respond to this or warning warning about the content. But yeah, you all could probably go read more about it later. But sounds like they're proactive.
I'd say I would make more of a comment if I fully understood what it actually is. I mean, I kind of have an idea based on just the term itself,
Yeah.
but I'm not entirely sure. So it's hard for
Yeah,
me
I
to
think
say
it's
much about it.
I think it's like what they would call with cell phones sexting, if you know what that is.
Oh, yeah. I know what that is.
Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
I think I consider it kind of like a super cyber equivalent of that. Is if
okay.
I'm correct, if I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on Instagram, so I guess I wouldn't have experienced it, thankfully. Um, but yeah, if they're trying to make it stop or try to lessen it or whatever it is they're doing, then hopefully it works.
Yeah. Because I think that because it's a photo-based network, that place is like a breeding ground for that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not saying it's the network's fault. I'm not saying nobody should use it, but it's just I think a particular breeding ground for it.
Well, it's like anything else. People use it responsibly, and then there's those that don't.
Sure.
The one thing I am worried about, though, is that I want to say it was OnlyFans that tried to do something similar, and then people made a big stink out of it, I guess, because people were making money off of that type of stuff on there. So OnlyFans had no choice but to bring it back. So I'm wondering if Instagram tries something similar, is the same thing going to happen?
Mm. Like with personal photos or like with what?
With more explicit imagery.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't we kind of go on a high note and move on to our little curious question. This is something I've thought of probably multiple times just in my head, but so the question is, if Artists Unlimited, the theater group again, Jordan and I are part of that we were just talking about earlier, if Artists Unlimited was to recreate an existing TV episode or movie or sketch, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I remember after recording the last episode, and Seth and I were talking about selecting this one for our next topic. We both were thinking about how we just immediately thought of at least one or two. And I don't know if it's just because we saw this in theaters, but the first thing I wrote down was Shrek 2.
Hmm.
It's like there's so many wonderful characters in there. It's funny. It's got a good story, good pacing. Just an
And we've done the
overall.
musical too.
Hmm?
And we've done the musical as well. So
Yeah, that's the other thing. We did the musical, which is heavily based on the first film.
yeah,
So it's like if we could somehow reenact the sequel,
yeah,
that would be so much fun. Because there's also new characters in there,
yeah.
and I don't know if there's been musicals that are considered sequels to other ones, but I feel like they could do a Shrek 2 one.
Well, aside from like Love Never Dies, or maybe that's the
Mm.
only one I can think of.
Right. Although That's an obscure one even then, because like as popular as Phantom of the Opera is,
Yeah.
people either haven't heard of Love Never Dies, or if they have, they just don't want to see it because they're so invested in the story of the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see our cast bring back Shrek and just do a full reenactment of the second movie.
Yeah, I think I'd be up for that.
Oh, for sure. I would love to reprise my role as Donkey. In fact, when we went to see it in theaters, almost everybody we went with, their character appears somewhere in the film except for one of them because they played Humpty Dumpty and he's in the Puss in Boots spinoff. But like Donkey is in there. I played Donkey. Seth was one of the pigs, and of course they're in there too. Um, our friend who played Shrek, he was there. Our friend who played the wolf, he was there.
Mhm.
So it's like it was kind of fun to not only see this movie that we all love anyway, but just kind of picturing ourselves as those characters again brought back wonderful memories.
Yeah, it was good to see it on the big screen again for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever seen any of the Shrek movies in theaters. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see either of the last two
Yeah.
in theaters. I might have seen the first or the second one, but I was a bit young back then, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I was thrilled when they announced that they were bringing the second one back. It's like I gotta see this in theaters.
Yeah.
But the next one I wrote down, I wasn't too specific on this one, but I just went with the Monsters Inc. movies. I haven't seen the Monsters at Work show, so I can't say much about that. But like thinking Monsters University or the original Monsters Inc. film, I feel like Artists Unlimited could do those because there's a wide variety of characters and monsters in this movie that everyone could be something unique. In fact, there's a line in Monsters University that I think would very well or would apply to our cast very well, where some of the characters are looking through a window at the scare company and seeing all the different types of monsters in there. And Mike says something like, see what they all have in common. And when someone says no, they just go, exactly. There's no one type of monster. The best scarers use their differences to their advantage. And I feel like that could be a wonderful philosophy type thing for Artists Unlimited to apply.
Yeah, something definitely didn't think about. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It's a wonderful message, and it doesn't have to apply to just monsters. That's the wonderful thing about it.
Oh yeah.
And then I wrote this next one down mostly for fun, but it's like I could see to some degree Artists Unlimited doing this one, reenacting Wally.
Hmm.
Like even if somebody were just to apply voices to some of the robots or some of the sound effects, I feel like some people would have a blast doing that. Um, but of course, in this movie, there are more than enough humans in there. Some of them are definitely focused on a lot more than others. But I feel like Artists Unlimited could portray some of these characters really well. Like
That's kind
somebody,
of an interesting. That's kind of an interesting pick because like the couple leads, they don't speak as much from what I remember. Maybe like little short sentences, but yeah, yeah. If you can see it working, yeah, yeah, maybe.
well, in terms of Wally specifically, he doesn't say a lot of words most of the time, and even when he does, they're not very long sentences, like you said. But even then, he still makes a lot of sounds. And it could do something like motion tracking,
Yeah.
where not only would one of the Artists Unlimited cast members be able to provide their voice, they could also bring Wally to life with their own individual motions. Like if somebody wanted to pretend to be a robot, they could do some of the stuff that Wally does. Same thing with Eve. I can already think of one or two people that would rock that role. Um, but again, plenty of humans. I could see some of our cast portraying specific ones. Somebody could be the or Otto, as the character is referred to. But I feel like it's a fun movie with more than enough human characters and even some non-human characters that people could do. That I think they could pull it off.
Yeah, maybe we could use some like a real-time AI, like that kind of replaces their physical appearance with like a computer-generated character or something like I know at work we kind of experimented with something like that where you could virtually have a famous person's face, and we played around with that at a party and kind of had fun with that.
Yeah, I think there's a specific term for that. I want to say it's something like deep fake,
I
where
think that's the term. Yeah, I think that might be it.
something like that. Yeah, like I know there was somebody on America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent, one of those a while back, where they used technology to make it look like they were Simon on a screen and having him sing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, deepfakes could be used. In fact, a good example of what you were talking about, where there's a virtual character moving in the exact same way at the exact same time that the person is. There was this one season long singing competition called Alter Ego, where these people they have these motion tracking suits on, but they are not on the stage. Instead, they project this alter ego, which is a CG like generated character, and have that character on the stage mimicking all their movements while they're singing into a mic where nobody can see them. And only after they're eliminated do they finally reveal who they are. And I feel like it was a clever idea because then you can't judge a person based on what they actually look like. It's like they could look entirely different from what their alter ego is. So it's like I would have loved for them to bring that show back, and I definitely would have tried out if they had a season 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But then kind of roping it back in a little bit. Um the next one I wrote down is the Artist Unlimited cast reenacting the trailer for Avengers Infinity War.
Hmm.
It seems like a off the walls choice, but there's a couple of reasons I went with that. One, there's plenty of characters, and I know a lot of people who would love to be superheroes. Um, but additionally, the opening lines to the trailer, I feel like mirror exactly what Artist Unlimited stands for, where multiple characters at the beginning of the trailer collectively say, there was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people, um, so that we could become something more. So when they needed us, we could fight the battles that they never could. So it's like the way Artist Unlimited was created is because one man had an idea to bring all these people together and we became something more. And now people know who we are, what we're trying to do, in that we're trying to show people that those with disabilities have all these different skills and capabilities that people will not initially realize just by looking at them, or just generally skills that they have that people wouldn't expect. So it's like it's very much the same. It's like there was an idea, all these people came together, and now we represent those who can't stand up for themselves. And hopefully, through this group, other people will have a chance to shine and show exactly who they are. And what really makes this interesting is a while back on Facebook, I reached out to like the cast and some of the board staff members saying, kind of as a joke, but also kind of half serious. It's like, what if we recreated this? I would love to do it, especially with those opening lines. And some of them were like, yeah, we totally should.
Yeah, I did kind of do a similar thing like in my first year with the group, suggesting that we recreate Shrek the Halls, the Christmas special, but I don't know. I don't know. It's probably a long shot, but I don't know. I guess somebody found that funny. I don't know.
I mean, I don't remember seeing that, but heck, I'd be on board. Because,
Yeah.
like with Shrek 2, I would just love to bring these characters back and have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And then the last one I wrote down is another Avengers movie, but specifically Avengers Endgame. And even more specific, I hopefully am not spoiling too much, but the movie's been out for years. So if you haven't seen it by now, I can't really do much about that.
I guess most everybody's seen it by now.
Probably. And even if they haven't, they probably know what happens. But the scene in Endgame, I would love to have Artists Unlimited reenact is when all the portals open up and everybody like stands together. Like at first, Captain America, he's by himself, and yet he's about to take on this entire army with no idea that everybody's coming back. And then the portals start opening up, and each of the heroes appear one by one to form the group even larger. And they all come together and they all get really excited and they charge the enemy army as a group, as a team. It's like every time I listen to the soundtrack for this scene, or every time I watch this scene, I can't help but picture like all the Artists Unlimited actors like doing exactly what's being done on screen. Like some of them walk in a very authoritative fashion through the portal. Some of them fly in, some of them land in an awesome pose, what have you. But it would be so much fun to get everybody in Artists Unlimited to do like a coming together, teaming up sort of style scene.
Yeah. Getting everyone teamed up. Yeah, I think I'd be on board. Yeah.
I would love to do it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I wrote down a few things, and the first one is probably the one that I've thought of way longer than the rest of them, and that is specifically the a specific episode of the Disney Channel's Even Stevens, Influenza the Musical. Well, one reason, kind of a no-brainer, it's kind of up our alley, musical theater. It's pretty much the whole episode is pretty much a musical theater fantasy. And I think it's a half hour of quick, very Broadway style song and dance numbers and a fun little story, a variety of creative songs, pretty fun characters. I would I think I'd have a lot of fun doing it.
I mean, it definitely sounds fun. I haven't seen much of Even Stevens myself, but based on what you're describing, I'd be down.
Yeah, and from what I know, it's one of the most popular episodes of the series as well. So,
Where did this show originally air?
Disney Channel.
Oh, that's probably why I haven't seen it. I didn't grow up with that.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, it used to be on ABC on Saturday mornings, so I saw a
Oh,
little bit of it that way, and I don't think I saw that episode on live television, but on Disney Plus though. But yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. And then one I put down a couple sketches of Saturday Night Live, like some of the better ones.
Hmm.
Um, one was one that my brother introduced me to. He told me about it. One in which Jerry Seinfeld plays a history teacher, trying to kind of teach mm, a group of students about World War II, and they are more or less clueless about any of the stuff from that time period, and naturally, awkward hilarity ensues, and it's this whole like back and forth exchange between the teacher and the students. It's if you'd probably have to see it to understand what I'm talking about and fully appreciate it, but it was actually something my brother thought about performing for our drama camp, but they didn't go through with it. But I think if we were to do it, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen that specific one, but I've seen several sketches that sound very similar to what you're describing. And one of them that I thought of as you said that
Yeah.
was this sketch that David Tennant did when he was still the Doctor in Doctor Who,
Yeah.
except he was acting as if he wasn't that character, like he was just himself.
Yeah.
And there were at least a couple students in the back that had no idea what was going on or they just did not care. And at one point, some of them go, "Hey, are you the doctor?" And he just goes, "Doctor who?" And they're like, "Ah, we got him. He said the thing."
Yeah. Yeah, good one. Um, yeah, and then the other SNL sketch I thought of was Hibernal. Basically, it's kind of a fake commercial advertising a fake product that's kind of a parody of NyQuil.
Hmm.
But basically, the idea is you get a cold, you take this stuff, and you can sleep through the whole cold season and recover that way. Yeah. So it's a bit
Oh,
hysterical in a way, but it's pretty well produced and well acted. It's kind of funny. It's pretty cool.
and I'm sure there are a lot of people that would see an ad like that and be like, "I wish that was real."
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing a huge cap of syrup you could drink a whole of and just sleep through the whole cold season. That'd be pretty I guess that'd be their dream.
Yeah, granted, depending on when it happens, there might be some important things that you miss because you're sleeping, but it's a comedy sketch. It's supposed to be funny.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's like and then I thought of um The Big Comfy Couch, which is one of the kids shows that I grew up with seeing on television and you know, I'd say just about any episode would be cool with me. Me just get a chance to maybe play a role like Major Bedhead or something, and we'd have someone for Lunette, and maybe someone like we have a guy in our group who does puppets. He could do like Molly the doll or something, and just about any episode would be cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen that show in years, so I don't really remember too many characters outside of the main two,
Yeah,
but that would certainly be a lot of fun to do. And even if a lot of the cast weren't directly involved, I feel like a lot of them would laugh whenever they did those fast forward scenes.
yeah,
Because I don't know about you, but especially as a kid, whenever anybody was moving in fast forward that normally isn't, I would be laughing my butt off because I just found it absolutely hysterical.
yeah,
I still do sometimes.
yeah,
Like
oh yeah,
you
sure,
could ask my mom or someone else in my family where I would just be watching this video with them and then I stop it for a second after a particular moment and be like, what would this look like in fast forward?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I get that. Yeah, yeah. And then I thought of the live action Disney movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Hmm.
There's I think the character writing is mm, mm, very good, and there's some pretty good physical action that we could do. There's a lot of good character interactions. So I think I would like to be like maybe be the older brother next door or something like that. I've grown up with that movie. I feel like I know just about all the story beats, and I think I might like it.
Yeah, I know I've seen that movie, not recently, but I know I've seen it. But oddly enough, what I remember more was I don't know if it was Disney or Universal, but I think there was like a 4D ride of sorts called Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Oh yeah, it was like a 4D show that was at the Disney Hollywood Studios park. Yeah, I saw that.
It was Disney. Okay. Um, but it's like whether it be that or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's like, yeah, an Artist Unlimited could totally do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then finally, I said, this is another Disney Channel series, Lizzie McGuire. Yeah, another childhood gem,
Hmm.
and one that I revisited quite a bit when we had Disney Plus, I should say. And yeah, good. I'd say, well, good writing, pretty good, relatable situations, and um, I would, I think I would really enjoy like being Gordo and doing of like a full episode, just about any full episode mode, that we could agree that we wanted to do.
Oh yeah, and if we just do one single episode, we could definitely sit down and
Yeah,
choose which one at least the vast majority wanted to do.
yeah,
Um, but correct me if I'm wrong, is Lizzie McGuire the movie where that song "This Is What Dreams Are Made Of" came from?
yeah, yeah. That song was in that one. Yeah,
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was uh Lizzie McGuire or some other Hilary Duff
yeah,
film, but
yeah. Yeah, it's
it would be fun.
yeah. I would like to do that. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So guess that's all we have to say, and you know, we encourage you, all of you out there, to share your thoughts about the direction social media is headed and the changes uh, that might be made or could or should be made, and maybe stuff you'd want to act out yourself. And like in the intro, like I said in the intro, take advantage of our platforms, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, and and any comments, any thoughts on the subjects we've covered, or anything, questions, comments, whatever, send them our way.
Oh yeah, we say this every week. We love the interaction that we have with the audience. Questions that you have or your own answers to the topics we just discussed or other topics you want us to discuss in the future. Don't be shy to speak up. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know how we can maybe improve the show or find other topics to discuss or what have you. But anything you got to say, send it our way.
Yes, please do. And yeah, until next time, thanks again, and see you again soon.
So long, everyone.